Hello there, Big Benedict here. We're playing Gears of War 3 on the Series X, and this is my insane difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Act 1-4. It is entitled Helping Hand. So I've restarted this chapter from scratch to enable the most people to gain benefit from, having the default weapons over here. I would recommend switching out your shotgun for the torque bow that Carmine has, and I've spoken pretty badly about the torque bow in the last chapter, but it does definitely have a lot more going for it than the goddamn shotgun. So I would recommend firing at the gunker with all of your grenades, as many as you want, and as many torque bow rounds as you can. Okay, so 1-4 is composed of 3 fights. The way I'll show you how to do it, you're only going to have to do 2 of the fights, because we're going to make the third fight not a fight, but not in an illegitimate way, in a very intelligent way, I would say. But I'm not trying to toot my own horn about it. But once the gunker is finished off or near about, you're going to have some pods that spawn on this stalk over here. So as you can see, he is dead, but it took a little bit longer. They seem to be on a timer. So we have those pods over there. I would warrant that this fight is not as difficult as the fight, the second fight, just because you have an infinite area to run back over here, and even if all of your teammates fall in combat, that doesn't matter, because on the third game you're not responsible for picking up your shitty teammates. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to swap out this weapon that I'm carrying now, the hammer burst, for the Lancer over here. And ammo conservation, or ammo requirements, they're very taxing on this part because you have 2 gunkers. And I think that if you had a boom shot, you could probably kill the pod that spawns the gunker and not have to fight him, because that's what we're going to do on the third fight. We're going to eliminate the pods that spawn the gunkers, so we don't have to fight the gunkers. But you have to have the boom shot for that, I'm almost positive. So I was going to go back a chapter, get the boom shot, but again, I didn't want to have weapons that people won't have over here. And while there is a boom shot over here, it's pretty much in no man's land until you clear up a certain number of enemies, and it's to the left of the stalk there, and it's in a really bad place. But while I was doing this, I was thinking you could probably spawn kill that pod and eliminate that gunker. I'm almost positive you can do it. I also wanted to give a minor update on some non-essential battle information at this point. Do you know how I've been saying that FPS Boost mode is in 4K natively? Well, that's not true. I did learn that FPS Boost mode on the Series X is natively in 1440p, but it upscales it to 4K. So you're not getting native 4K on FPS Boost mode. But to my understanding, the Series X upscales most everything like that. So it's not essential information. I just wanted to correct that, just in case you were assuming that. But I would highly recommend playing on FPS Boost mode and not in the so-called quality mode, which would be the 30 frames per second mode without FPS Boost. And I also do not have auto HDR on, because to my eye it just looks worse. I already have HDR on HDR10, so I'm not sure what that's all about. And then you've just got to really be careful over here, because you're going to have a lot of drudges. A lot of drudges that can just instantly kill you with that flamethrower or the snake. Now, what happened there was that I got a little too wild there, and I I should have shot the body of that thing, but I just, you know, things happen. But the snakes have perhaps the fairest amount of HP of any enemy in this game. Those things, just a couple of bullets, they're dead. They're so fair. Unlike the gunkers that have like 17,000 HP or whatever it is. But the reason I say that this fight is not as difficult as the second fight, and don't get me wrong, this fight is really fucking difficult as well, but the second fight is just a mess because you have less room to maneuver, and you've got a gunker that is constantly firing at you. And yes, we had gunkers constantly firing at us over here, but we could always run back, you know, to the starting point for safety. The boom shot's over there to the left, by the way. And if I say nothing else that you retain, remember this. Take the boom shot into the final fight. There's going to be a boom shot right before it. I'm going to point it out, and you need to pick it up, because that will prevent you from needing to do the third fight. So it's either, do you want to fight 0 gunkers or 2 gunkers? Well, it's going to be up to you. I would recommend fighting 0. Because I love spawn killing pods that have gunkers. Because it's just, it feels so cathartic when you can do that. I also was going to write all of the perfect active reload perks in the description or talk about them. But when I looked in the manual for this game, it appears that because you get a perk for getting an active reload and also for getting a perfect active reload. And so there's those two, you know, different cases, and then there's also the case of what difficulty you're playing on affects the perks as well. So there's so many crossovers of perks that it's all laid out in the manual, but to recite it or to write it in a guide, it would just be really confusing. For instance, the damage boost for a perfect active reload, for the Lancer, it says that it's 30%, but then it varies on other difficulties. Sometimes you don't need to get a perfect active reload, just an active reload, depending on what difficulty you're in. So it's just really confusing about that all. And if you want to, you can give your teammates boom shots. Everybody can have a boom shots. There's boom shots aplenty on this chapter. And don't get me wrong about what I said in the previous chapter. If you want to give your teammates certain weapons, be they just, you know, whatever weapon you want to give them or a power weapon, by all means, do whatever you want to, because that could help. I'm just a person that doesn't want to fuss around with that necessarily, and I know that the damage that the weapons shot by your teammates do is nerfed anyway, to a certain degree. So I really don't feel that, while it's perfectly fine to do it, it's far from necessary to need to do it is all. Do you see what I'm driving at? It's like, if you don't give your teammates great weapons, does that mean that you can't do certain sections in the game? Absolutely not. So it's up to you. It's totally up to you. So there's a boom shot hiding in here, and then we're going to be going on the next fight. The next fight, you've got a gunker, and you've got 2 areas that you get pretty good shelter from his blasts. So what I'm going to say is, well, we'll see. Well, I'll show you what happens. I think that the best thing to do is to flank the gunker more or less in an area where there's a boom shot, so that you can pound the drudges and the gunker with your boom shot, and then have a refill right next to you over here. And the first thing I think that I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately spawn kill some pods with the boom shot. and then I'm going to run up. I've done this a number of ways, and I just think that hanging back and trying to deal with all the enemies while the gunker's throwing his shit, and you've got dredges doing, you know, their different things at any given moment, it's just not as effective as strong arming it, because that's really what you need to do. So I'm going to take care of those pods over there, and then clear up a couple of the lambent down here, and then I'm going to make my run for it up ahead. Be careful, instant death on those projectiles. You really need to be careful. And again, try to shoot the bodies so that the snake doesn't get you. But the splash screwed it up for me right there. But again, fairest amount of damage right there. Can't ask for anything better than that. Okay, so we're going to run up here after we've taken care of a couple of enemies, and depending on how many enemies that you've killed will dictate if you've got any pods coming off this stalk over here. So if you haven't really killed anybody, you'll find that as you reach this point, the pods will be spawning now, but we've already crossed that threshold of killing enemies. But you've got a drudge over here. He's very dangerous. He needs to be taken care of. So you'll want to destroy those pods. Here's the boom shot back here. And if I don't say it again, and I probably will because I hate it, starting in this game, they make you hold the confirm button to pick up ammunition, which I really detest. It worked fine in Gears of War 1 and 2, where you just stand over something that you want and you press the button rather than having to just stand there and, as you're very vulnerable, hold the fucking button and wait for it to confirm. I don't like that at all. I hate it. But the gunker can throw in the emulsion waves into the area where you're at in those containers. He generally likes to throw them at the ceiling, but this is one of those scenarios that I almost can't give you any advice, and it really makes me sad because of the unruliness that just goes on here. So what I would recommend is to follow in this strategy and just strong arm it as best you can, and be as safe as you can in here. Mind your surroundings as much as possible. Don't worry about your teammates. Get on those pods, and eventually it will coalesce into a win, just like the final boss. You know, you just got to wait for things to cooperate. But I have to say that part is really shitty. It's really bad. But to compensate for it, we can not have to deal with this last fight. So this last fight, what it is it's two stalks that spawn, gunkers, and it's okay. If you don't have a boom shot at this point, don't forget, run all the way to the back of this warehouse over here, and there's a boom shot in here. You only need 2 boom shot rounds to do this strategy. And what we're going to do is we're going to spawn kill the pods, like I mentioned. So you're going to be and it only takes like 10-15 seconds and it's done. You're going to get the cutscene, and you're going to fire at the stock that is going to be to our right in just one moment. Okay, so when you start, it's going to start just in 1 second. Here it is. Okay, so the first pod spawns on the stock to the right over here, right about there. Shoot it there. That's going to spawn kill the gunker, and then right about there, that's going to spawn kill the second gunker, and then you will not have to fuss with any gunkers. I think they have reduced life on that for you because it's a really awkward situation, but definitely that's by far the best way to deal with that situation. I will see you in 1-5. Until then, please take care.